May 26, 2020. The world is firmly in lockdown and all major motorsports have postponed on-track activity. Some, like Formula E, have gone the route of esports to offer up their fans some entertainment with the drivers. With this being the only form of competition from the motorsport, fans weren't expecting any big headlines or dramatic news stories. That was until Audi Sport Abt Schaeffler Formula E team announced they had terminated driver Daniel Abt's contract immediately. Abt had been involved with the program since day one, and his family ties with the Abt Sportsline brand made his position seem more secure than other drivers. So why had he been dropped, and most importantly, did the punishment fit the crime? We back up 3 days, May 23, 2020. The Formula E Race at Home Challenge was an Rfactor 2 championship that involved almost the entire Season 6 Formula E grid, along with a few other racing drivers, as well as a whole challenge grid for esports stars, who would have their own races as support races for the FE grid. The series was a partnership between Formula E and UNICEF, and all donations from the competition would be given to emergency and humanitarian aid projects for children around the world. Formula E really did their best to make this seem like a big event, streaming the races live on their social channels and bringing in their full broadcast team. From the very first race, however, it was clear that this wouldn't be an accurate translation of on-track product. The sim was very glitchy, and networking issues didn't help at all. As a result, it became obvious that some drivers took this friendly competition less seriously than others. Drivers like Stoffel Van Dorn, Maximilian Gunther, and Pascal Wehrlein all did incredibly well, while drivers such as Sebastian Buemi, Antonio Felix da Costa, and the subject of this video Daniel Abt all floundered at the back, being eliminated in the race formats. Heading into round 5 of the championship, Abt had finishes of 15th, 23rd, 19th, and a best result of 13th. In the races, he was thoroughly uncompetitive. So it was a shock when Abt arrived at the virtual Berlin Tempelhof and qualified P2, though perhaps not as shocking at the time, considering that the real Berlin was one of Abt's best tracks. In the race, Abt took the lead on lap 1 and led for the majority, before contact with Stoffel Van Dorn allowed Oliver Rowland to sweep through and win the race. Abt crossed the line in 3rd, but did not appear for the post-race interview, citing connection issues. Immediately, suspicion began to rise, initially coming from his fellow competitors, in particular Stoffel Van Dorn.
That's a reasonably good lap time for Daniel Abt. The quickest lap times we've seen are sort of a 1:09.0 from the sim races, so that's going to put Abt there or thereabouts, I would have thought.
Mitch on a 10.2. Not a very good lap. Daniel 9.3. I don't believe Daniel. Daniel. What are you doing? Let's call Daniel. He's not answering. I know this is not Daniel driving. What the hell? What is he doing, man? Come on, this is not even... Oh man, this is a joke. It's not even Daniel driving. I'm really not happy here. Because that was not Daniel driving himself. And he messed up everything.
The inside, to be honest, I'm questioning if it was really Daniel in the car, but yeah, anyway.
Please ask Daniel Abt to put his zoom when, next time he's driving, because like Stoffel said, I'm pretty sure it wasn't him.
Taking a look back, during the races, each driver had a camera on them to view them in their sim setups. Daniel Abt's camera, however, had his face suspiciously obscured by the microphone. While it looked to be the same setup and room as Abt had raced in previously, there was no proof that it was actually Abt in the seat. Thus, Formula E began an investigation to confirm if it was indeed Abt that had taken part in the race, and after cross-referencing IP addresses with his previous starts, they did not match. When questioned by Formula E, Abt confessed that it had not been him in the race, rather esports specialist Lorenz Horsing, who was a driver competing in the challenge grid races. Both Abt and Horsing's finishes in their respective races, or against both of Horsing's finishes, were disqualified. Horsing was banned from competing in the series, and Daniel Abt was fined €10,000, which would be donated to charity. Just 3 days later, the bombshell dropped that Abt had been suspended by Audi Sport and later confirmed that they had dropped him entirely. They released this in their statement. Integrity, transparency, and consistent compliance with applicable rules are top priorities for Audi. This applies to all activities the brand is involved in without exception. For this reason, Audi Sport has decided to suspend Daniel Abt with immediate effect. It would be an incredible shock that Abt would be fired by essentially his family's team, with his father owning Abt Sportsline, who were an integral part to the Audi Abt Schaeffler Formula E team. This news divided the motorsports world, both fans and drivers. Some drivers such as Antonio Felix da Costa and Jean-Eric Vergne came to Abt's defense, stating that such severe implications shouldn't come from competing in an esports series. Other drivers such as James Collado wrote comments suggesting they would stop streaming their races on their pages, fearful of everything being looked over under a microscope. Some fans speculated that the reason the action was so harsh was that Audi were looking to push Abt out of the seat, as he had had a rough start to Season 6 and generally wasn't as competitive as teammate Degrassi. All the while, they had just shut down their DTM program and were looking for places they could put their factory drivers, such as Rfactor. Abt released his own statement later that day on his YouTube channel, and while it's in German, it has English captions. Within it, he apologized for his actions, but also shed some more light on the bigger story.
Und dieses Online-Formel-E-Rennen basiert auf Rfactor 2, ist ein Spiel, ist eine Simulation, die aber mit dem echten Rennen fahren, mit dem, was ich normalerweise tue, auch glaube ich von außen betrachtet, war das nicht das, was ein echtes Formel-E-Rennen, was professionelles Racing, dass wir in einem Twitch-Stream trainiert haben für diese Race at Home Challenge, waren wir mit anderen Sim-Racern in Kontakt. Kam aus einer Unterhaltung die Idee, dass es doch eine lustige Aktion sein könnte, wenn ein Sim-Racer quasi für mich fährt, den anderen realen Fahrern vielleicht auch ein bisschen zeigt, was er drauf hat und die Chance hat, gegen die zu fahren. Wir das Ganze wiederum dokumentieren und daraus eine lustige Story für die Fans kreieren. Niemals meine Intention, einen anderen Fahrer für mich fahren zu lassen, damit ich ein Ergebnis habe und danach das Thema verschwiegen wird und ich irgendwie besser dastehe, denn das tue ich nicht. Diese Punkte, dieses Ergebnis ist für mich persönlich irrelevant. Es hat keinerlei Auswirkungen, ich bekomme kein Geld, nichts desgleichen. Die anderen Fahrer darauf reagiert und haben gemerkt, dass das nicht mit rechten Dingen zugeht. Das war mir auch bewusst. Das war ja auch niemals mein Wille oder meine Idee, das denen zu verheimlichen. Dass man IP-Adressen checken kann und der Junge aus Österreich kommt, auch das war mir bewusst. Auch das haben wir nicht verschleiert, indem wir einen VPN-Account gemacht haben und irgendwie versucht haben, das zu umgehen. Nein, das haben wir bewusst alles so gelassen, weil wir gar nicht die Intention hatten, dass das nicht rauskommt. Genauso wenig das Interview, das dann später quasi nach dem Rennen war mit den Top 3, dass ich bewusst auch nicht angetreten bin, weil ich selber nicht dieses Interview geben wollte, weil ich das für falsch empfunden habe. Ich kann es verstehen, dass wir mit dieser Idee zu weit gegangen sind. Im Nachhinein betrachtet haben wir nicht genug über die Ernsthaftigkeit und die Konsequenz, die das Ganze mit sich trägt, nachgedacht.
According to Abt, this had all been planned from the start of the weekend. Abt would allow Horsing to race in his place and document all of it before putting it together in a video, showcasing the talent of the esports drivers in comparison to the real Formula E drivers. I'm honestly inclined to believe this. It really does seem like a Daniel Abt thing to try, and he has a very active YouTube channel, so I could totally see him going for something like this. And if he had truly been trying to sneak in an esports ringer in his place, there were definitely more convincing ways to do it, as Abt said in his statement. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't take the championship as seriously as he should have. The virtual series was the only representation the Formula E teams and drivers had at the time, and Abt would be an even bigger reflection on his employer because of his familial ties, with his last name literally being a part of the team. But another thing to consider is, 2020 was a year of sensitization when it came to professionalism in esports. Virtual competitions were taken more seriously and top-tier drivers were receiving repercussions for actions committed within these games. Immediately, Bubba Wallace's rage quit in NASCAR's iRacing series comes to mind, as he ended up losing a very real sponsor because of it. What Abt did, though he did it without nefarious intention, was simply an action done at the wrong time. And though personally, I still feel that the punishment was a bit too harsh, I could fully understand Audi's decision. In the aftermath, Abt wouldn't compete in any further rounds of the Race at Home Championship, being replaced by Audi driver Kelvin van der Linde. When Formula E returned to close out the 2020 season, Audi would hire factory driver Rfactor to replace him. Abt was picked up by backmarkers in year 333 as their driver Ma Qinghua wouldn't be able to race due to travel restrictions. For 2021, however, he chose to sit out. Apparently, he had been offered a contract from a team but rejected it, instead choosing to join the German broadcast team with Sat1 and later DF1, serving as a TV analyst and co-commentator for their Formula E coverage. Since then, Abt hasn't competed full-time in any professional championship, sticking to broadcasting, serving as an ambassador for the Abt brand, as well as continuing his content creation on YouTube. Looking back at the incident 5 years later, Abt seems at peace with it now. Apparently, he had planned to retire from racing at the end of 2020 anyway, although the circumstances panned out a bit differently to what he had expected.
When my racing career ended, which was a big, I don't know if it was big in the US, but at least here in Europe it was a big thing.
Yep, I remember.
When I got fired by Audi during the COVID time, I was prepared for life after racing, and I actually even without that I would have. Well, my plan was to end my racing career that year. A bit different than how it happened, but I just felt like there's other stuff that I really enjoy, that I want to do.
So, now that some time has passed and you've heard the whole story, let me know what you think of this. Do you think it was fair for Daniel Abt to lose his seat at Audi because of something he did in the esports series? Something that he had explained was a joke and was planning to reveal anyway? I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.